Thank you, Mark, and hello from London. Okay, some interesting technical patterns last week, and not just last week, but last month, for July as well. However, many were disappointing in their own way. Starting with the weeklies and the currencies, we had weekly key reversals down in sterling yen, US dollar against the Polish zloty, and euro against the Polish zloty, but also a weekly key reversal up in the Swiss franc against the Polish zloty. We can therefore surmise from that a relative strength in the Polish zloty, which has been sort of followed on through this week, and a weakness in euro Swiss, which has been evident since mid-June, but which has not seen a specific pattern last week, nor has it followed through lower this week. In the commodities, we had a weekly key reversal up in New York coffee futures, but not in the London contract, nor have we seen a follow-through higher this week, bar the start of Monday, which ended up being a daily key reversal down. Meanwhile, in New York cocoa futures, we had a weekly key reversal down, with London making a lesser outside weak pattern. And yet again, there was no follow-through lower in New York or London. Elsewhere, there were weekly key reversals up in Paris milling wheat futures and in London feed wheat futures last week. However, there was no weekly key reversals up in Chicago, Minneapolis or Kansas City wheat futures. And I suppose it was this lack of completion in the grains that saw no follow-through higher to the European grains patterns this week. Indeed, overall, there's been a disappointing lack of follow-through to the weekly patterns that we've seen so far. On that, I know that these weekly patterns are not immediate patterns, but one would like to think that there had been the glimmer of some sort of a follow-through by now. But at midway through this current week, it has been disappointing. Anyway, the next one is in freight, and we had a weekly key reversal down in the Baltic Handymax index, if only just last week. In this one, we have seen a follow-through lower to lows not seen since mid-February. Interestingly, this has been the first such pattern since the really interesting one here back in late October last year. I'm curious now to find out if the lows of 2022 in the 990 area will now hold this market up. Finally, two from Asia. We had a weekly key reversal up last week in Bursa Malaysia crude palm oil futures, a candidate for a very significant move back up from the falls since May if, and only if, the market cooperated and helped establish a base to the recent breaking out of a long-term bearish pitchfork pattern. However, much as the rest of the weekly key reversals this week have been, this market decided to be awkward and obtuse, and has even started to show a possible bearish halfway hesitation move construction. Looking at this pattern, it has some previous form here, back in late June that was. It is not too late to turn back up, but this would go against the target X below in the 2845 area, the target for the previous bearish halfway hesitation, stretching from June till today. It makes for an interesting match between the two contrary patterns. Finally, there was a weekly key reversal up in a mouthful. Yes, it was in the SGX SICOM TSR20 rubber futures last week. This, in line with all the other weekly key reversals made last week, is obtuse, and by a country mile obtuse, as we have only seen lower prices since, such that yesterday's low was the lowest since December 2020. That covers the weekly key reversals. Now on to the monthly key reversals for the month of July. In the currencies, we had a monthly key reversal down in euro against the Swedish krona. Now it is early yet, but it does seem at least the market here is contemplating heading lower by staying for the most part below the long moving average, currently 10.4156. In the commodities, we had a monthly key reversal down in London white sugar futures, as well as the white sugar premium on a monthly basis. These have not had any immediate follow-through lower. Well, you'd hardly expect such immediacy on such a longer-term pattern. However, they have not retreated back up either. So they are, well, well, they are maybe the ones to watch. Finally, for those who follow TikTok, there was a monthly key reversal up in the US stock GameStop, and that was last month. Interestingly, this one seems more reactive to such monthly patterns, as we have had a follow-on higher since then. It's an interesting one to watch. As always, I'm happy to share my videos, various charts, and answer any questions with anyone who wishes to contact me. And with that, I'll finish these comments from London. I hope you found them useful.